Live from Kansas City, Sci-Fi for Me TV presents coverage of Planet Comic-Con 2017.
Day 2 of Sci-Fi for Me TV's live coverage of Planet Comic-Con 2017.
Yeah.
I'm Dan Handley. We're sitting here with Tim Harvey.
Hello there.
This is the day of chaos. This is Saturday.
This is the day when everything is going on. This is the largest day of the con, and it is 10:45 in the morning, Central Standard Time.
Yes.
And should you cast your eyes over the con here, you would find it to already be very, very full. The lines for all the stars down Celebrity Row are huge. All the creators are out here. It's a fantastic layout. There's a lot more room to move around this year. They
Yes.
spread out the footprint.
They did, although they did also add more vendors
Yes,
and all that.
yes, they did,
It is
but
growing.
It is. Oh yeah, certainly it's larger scale this year than it's been in previous years, obviously. But it's also
Wider aisles.
yeah, it's a lot easier to move around. They really thought this out. It's very cool. We, of course, are the tallest people in the room.
Well, maybe not. We're the highest up.
Yeah,
I should say.
We're the tallest people in the room. I'm not very tall. No, we are up on our 6-foot stage. We are 6 feet up of the floor here, looking out over the Comic-Con floor. It is really just very cool that we have the kind of view we do. And you can see us now from from a lot of different places. We have a big projection system showing our logo up against the wall, which you can't see at home. Sorry. But think of the Sci-Fi for Me logo.
It's one of the perks of actually being at Planet Comic-Con, or you can see things like our logo projected on a wall.
That's right. So anyway, yeah, big day. We've got a lot of panels coming up. Dustin Adair and I, we do Apocalypse Now.
That's going to be at noon.
We're going to be at noon. We're going to be doing that live.
And we are actually going to be doing level 1177 at 11
right
here on at the stage.
Which I will be here for a little bit, and then I'll have to run and go get to the panel. But we'll, and we've got Sci-Fi for Chicks coming up today.
Yes, we do.
Is that at 3 o'clock?
Oh,
yes.
Yeah, that's what it's scheduled for.
Right, yeah, schedule may change.
Now keep in mind, we have our schedule on a whiteboard for good reason. You know,
and part of that is that we're having folks, creators and artists and writers, and hopefully some of the celebrities will stop by. Who knows? And we're talking to them throughout the course of the con, and we're talking to cosplayers, and it's really a way for us to bring them to you at home. Exactly. And of course, this is not just running on the Sci-Fi for Me channel.
This is also running on Planet Comic-Con's channel.
Right, on YouTube. And
TV25.
TV25. And we've got a lot of support from the KC Film office this year. And they are Steph Scuppum, who's an amazing lady.
Absolutely.
Who has been very, very influential in bringing a lot of film and television to Kansas City. A lot of stuff being produced here. American Ninja Warrior was just done here last week.
Yes.
And Jason survived.
And it was the second time.
Crewing on that.
The second time they've been here.
Barely. You don't see him on screen right now. That's why. Is American Ninja Warrior almost broke him. Almost.
Very close.
He's making faces over there.
But yes, it's...
Yeah,
but yeah, they've been very good helping us out.
Mm-hmm.
They've been great with helping with the tourism office and bringing out outside projects here to Kansas City. A lot more than we've seen before.
Oh yeah, well, Kansas City is a very financially attractive town for film and television because it is very easy to get around here, and when we're fairly spread out. I mean, it's a fairly sizable footprint. But it is also easy to get around. If you've ever worked in L.A., everyone who comes from L.A., who comes to Kansas City to work, sits there and goes, it is so easy to get around. You know, multiple setups throughout the course of a day. It's really, really efficient.
Yeah, even though we have more road miles per capita, it's very well laid out, easy to get to. Even the entire metro is easy to get around.
And it's also much, much less expensive to do that in Kansas City than a lot of other places. So if your folks are out there producing film and television, Kansas City, great place to go. Kansas City Film Office.
Great, and
you want to talk to.
We can fake most anything out here.
Oddly enough, this whole area you can go almost any place in the world you can almost reproduce in Kansas City. It's really amazing.
Absolutely, without a whole lot of mat work, but you can use some mat work. And if you want to know more about the KC Film Office and what they do for Kansas City and what they can do for you coming to Kansas City with your project, visit filminkc.com.
Yeah, lots of cool information there. So as we look around what we've got coming up here today,
a lot of cosplayers already
A
out.
lot of cosplayers. Dustin Adair over here is berating the cosplayers. I mean, hi, Dustin. Or maybe not berating is perhaps the word. Abusing? Tormenting.
But then again,
entertaining those walking by.
but then again, that's Dustin.
You're
So
right,
what do you
so-
expect? You know, you put him up on a high
I'm
platform.
very delicate. Don't be mean to me.
Yes, he's a delicate flower. No. There is no. Yeah. So anyway, but there's some fantastic cosplayers out there. We're hoping
Oh,
to get
yes.
some of them over for the Zompocalypse Now panel.
Yeah.
Dustin, if you happen to come across any Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. folks, level 11 is coming up here at 11.
Oh,
so
really?
yeah, can maybe draft some of them in. But yeah, because you and I have to take off.
I know.
Yeah, so I'll take about halfway through it. But yeah, this is just exciting. We've been here. Jason, is this year what? What year is this for us? Year 9. 9 years we've been at Planet Comic-Con. And this is, of course, our biggest year. We started doing the live stream thing
Worldcon.
last year at Worldcon.
Yes.
When they were here in Kansas City. And the Hugo Awards. We had a lot of fun. Really saw that we could do something and do this on a scale that we were able to do. And it's actually bigger this year because we're on air more.
Right.
And it is a lot of work, but it is also a lot of fun because we get a chance to talk to folks. We get a chance to talk to a lot of the folks who are here at the con, the creators and the vendors and all this stuff.
And there's a
It's
lot
just
of people.
fun.
There's a lot of people who just can't make it for one reason or
yeah,
another.
of course.
Now there and of some of the people not showing up, there are actually some that have good excuses. But this gives us a chance to bring some of that to you.
Right. Yeah, it's actually just it gives us yes.
Poke you for this person.
Hey, wow.
We're seeing all these people coming by in costume.
It's the inevitable thing of doing live video. People that we know come by and yeah, so it's
And people we don't know that have great costumes.
there's some beautiful stuff out here. And of course, if you know anything about cosplay, it ranges from the store-bought stuff, which anybody can do, and the folks who spend hours and days and months, sometimes years, building elaborate, gorgeous costumes. And there's so much on display here.
And
if you check out our Instagram feed,
yes,
and Pinterest,
and our
Pinterest. Instagram and Pinterest were doing cosplay stuff, right?
Pinterest is dedicated to
Right, thank
cosplay. And
Yeah,
this weekend
it's-
we're posting to Instagram a lot of the cosplayers out here. And the way I always tell people that there are actually two different kinds of cosplay.
Yeah.
There's awesome cosplay, and there's even better cosplay. Your awesome cosplay is, okay, you slap some green paint on and say Hulk smash, or, you put on a hoodie of your favorite
Right,
character,
sure.
and, that's great.
course.
Yes, and we, this one of those things that if it lets your inner geek light shine, your inner fan shine out, that's awesome cosplay.
Right.
The even better cosplay are the ones that you could tell they spent hours, days, weeks, a lot of resources and time and, effort into putting these together. And some of them do it professionally. And some, we've got a lot of them. And if you have any, we have our own website
Right.
dedicated to cosplay, Cosplay Diaries, cosplaydiaries.com, where this is a chance for you to tell your story and see other stories about cosplay. Certain things may have happened while you were doing cosplay or your first time putting the costume together. We would love to hear all of that.
Oh yeah, of course. No, it's just very, very cool. We're having a great time out here, and it's just getting started today. We will be here broadcasting till about 6 o'clock tonight, I think. And then
the con runs till 7.
The con runs till 7. We've got a lot built up throughout the course of the day. I think 6 is when we're going to cut off for the end of the day. That could change. And they'll be, of course, here on Sunday as well,
Yes.
broadcasting.
Tomorrow we will be. It's a lighter day, but it's still going to be
Oh, yeah.
action packed.
Yeah. So, and of course, we'll be doing stuff. We'll be out on the floor talking to folks, and whether just folks who are attending, or again the artists or the writers, we'll bring as many people as we can over here to come live to you guys as well. But we'll be filming a lot of interviews and things like that we can get. That'll go up on the website. That'll go up on the YouTube channel. If you're not already if you're not already going to the sci-fi4me.com website, go to the sci-fi4me.com website. Yes, you can find us here on YouTube, and yes, the video is great. But we have a lot of great articles and reviews, podcasts.
Absolutely.
We have 12 different podcasts going on right now, and it's just really, really There's just
Yes.
a lot that we do, and we have a great time doing it. So.
And interact with us. Let us know what you want to see.
yeah.
Let us know what you like, what maybe we're not doing quite up to expectations. I wouldn't say that anything we're doing bad, because we do
are
things
doing
pretty well.
everything wonderfully. Everything we do is no.
Not necessarily perfect.
But hey, we do want to hear what you think, and so you can always give us a comment, especially on our podcasts. Liking and commenting that stuff, it goes a long way to helping people find the podcast. So
Absolutely.
But yeah, so this is very, very cool. We are going to be going to a level 77 here at 11 o'clock, which is just minutes away.
Yes.
Which will take probably a little bit of rearranging here because
We've got multiple
it's not just
people.
you and I.
No.
And I got to leave early. So we will. Jason, what do we want to do here?
This is the magic of live television, ladies
All
and
right,
gentlemen.
we're going to go ahead and run our KC Films. It's all live. Hey, and actually, if you the weather here in Kansas City is wet. No, he's so critical.
So sometimes all you need to know is it's wet. But
He hits us when you're not watching. No, that's not true. We actually, and there's a reason I mentioned that the weather in Kansas City is wet. Not only that, I had to walk through it this morning. Kansas City's weather today is cold and wet, but you can find out whether you're here or any con you are going to. You can go to sci-fi4me.com and you can find the weather for pretty much everywhere in the country. There's a convention.
around the world. We do have some worldwide.
That's true. And we actually have real weather people. There is, it's really amazing how much effort goes into tracking all this stuff, but of course getting it out to you. So if you are going to a convention, pretty much any city you want to go to, in the U.S. or worldwide, you can find out what the weather is going to be like within the weather, the wiggle room of a weather report. But
weather reports,
it's there for you on sci-fi4me.com, which is something that nobody else does, by the way. Nobody else is going to sit there and tell you what's the weather like in San Jose, or the con you're going to, and you can go to one stop and find it.
And it's quite a feat, being as though we have well over 900 cons listed. Now, we don't have everything listed. That's because we don't know about everything yet.
That's right.
That's why we want you to tell us about any conventions that are within genre that we have overlooked, that we haven't heard about.
If your convention isn't on that list, then it should be.
Yeah,
you can let people know.
Yeah, tell us when, where, give us a website, that type of thing, and please if you have a website for your convention, make sure we can read it and find the details on there, because some of them are nightmares, but
most of them are not.
Yeah, most of them are very good. But
don't burn the bridges with the con people.
Let us know about it, when it's going to be, so we can put it on our calendar,
right,
which we do have on our website, and get the weather reports for that from Brian Busby.
Brian Busby here in Kansas City.
Yes.
Fantastic weatherman.
Absolutely.
We actually have a great relationship with so many different other conventions and so many different fan groups, all this stuff, and that's all part of the idea of bringing sci-fi for me is a sci-fi for you. The me in the name is everybody. So we definitely want your feedback. We definitely want to hear what you're doing and how you're involved in the various stuff in fandom that you do, whether it's just reading a comic book to full-on cosplay or maybe some of the stars out here want to tell us how cool it is to be stars. We'll find out. But in any event, thank you for watching. We're excited that you're here watching this today. We are going to. It's almost 11 o'clock. We are going to go take a quick break, run a few spots, at least one spot, probably for the KC Film Office, and we'll be back with a level 11-7 here in just a minute.
Absolutely.
Level 11-7. It's not that hard.
I'm going to hit you. I'm going to hit you so hard.
What comes to mind when you think of Kansas City? Jazz? Barbecue? Baseball? Sure, but Kansas City has a motion picture history rich with Hollywood ties. You've probably heard of 18th and Vine, but what about 31st and Forest, where the Walt Disney pioneered animation? It was here that Disney founded his first animation company, Laugh-O-Gram Studios. Disney would later say he was working late one night at his desk when he first found a mouse that would become the office pet. and the inspiration for its most iconic character. Nearby, you'll find Kansas historic Film Row. For 40 years, every major Hollywood studio distributed films from this 4-block area, making KC one of the largest distribution hubs in the country. These buildings still stand as a symbol of our movie heritage. KC wasn't just supplying the movies. We also supplied some of Hollywood's biggest names like Jean Harlow, Ginger Rogers, Joan Crawford, and the legendary director Robert Altman. Not to mention stars of today like Diane Weiss, Chris Cooper, Jason Sudeikis, Eric Stonestreet, Don Cheadle, and Paul Rudd. Today, the city's film ties continue. More filmmakers than ever are choosing Kansas City to bring their visions to life, making KC an up-and-coming destination for independent and studio productions. And now, you can experience it all with KC Film's tourism program. Take in the sights and sounds of Kansas City's cinematic history. Get started at visitkc.com/film tourism.
With more premium cable-like channels than any other station in the United States, we are locally owned. We are locally operated. We are free over the air. We are TV 25, where there's always something on.
You're watching live coverage of Planet Comic-Con, only on Sci-Fi for Me TV.
Hey everybody, welcome to Level 1177, the podcast about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I'm Dan Handley. Joining me here at the table, Sam Sentman.
Evening.
And
Morning.
And Tim Harvey, who's going to have to take off early.
Yes,
for a panel.
sadly I am.
And Mindy Inlow will be joining us here shortly. So, the latest episode, I'd say it was a pretty good one, and initial thoughts on it.
Well, of course, this is the alternate universe, basically, idea here with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., or Agents of Hydra in this particular case. And for those of you who abandoned the show a million years ago when it was first on the air, we understand that. First season was rough. But the show has steadily gotten better and better, and the Ghost Rider arc brought a lot of people's attention back to the show. This particular arc in this artificial computer world, virtual world where
The framework
has really been very, very interesting to give sort of not only the alternate versions of some of these characters, but also a chance for our characters to look at some of these. I'm specifically thinking of Ward.
More interesting Ward.
A more interesting Ward. But to look at them with a fresh set of eyes, and the audience as well, because as much as Ward was a block of wood through season 1 before he turned evil, this Ward is actually, this good Ward, quote unquote good Ward, is actually interesting to watch. Yep. And you're reminded, he actually is a good actor.
Yep.
Yeah.
So this
nice.
This episode was episode 419, All the Madam's Men. I didn't have that in front of me at the opening, but I do have it now. So, what are your thoughts on it?
Well, it definitely started out a lot bloodier than some of the other ones. And then, throwing Madam Hydra straight out the window right at the beginning, that was a lot of fun to watch.
Oh yeah. Big splat at the bottom.
Yep.
She kind of deserved it.
Oh,
It's
she
one of
definitely
those
does.
things
Kind of.
I'm being nice. Ladies
Ladies and gentlemen, Mindy Inlow, who just joined us.
Hello, everybody. How you doing? No, I mean, from the beginning, since you started seeing her turn in the series, it's one of those, you get to the point where you're just like, Dewey. Yes, she got to do it. Where's the line start? I want to join in on this fun.
Yeah, it was pretty great.
Yeah, and actually getting to see Quake with her powers in the framework now. That's...
Yeah, so... you think you build some parameters into the framework where it's basically like certain things are not allowed? Because if you think about it...
Well, keep in mind, Ada did not build the framework. She's just trying to control it, so she...
Well, but, she's an artificial intelligence. I mean, again, do not stare directly at the comic book logic. We've had this discussion before. But there is a certain amount of, well, you should have thought of that. Aren't you supposed to be smart?
Well, but you got to, the people who are coming in, they aren't getting their superpowers technically.
Well, yeah, but you'd think
she wasn't expecting this.
Again, she's supposed to be smart. But all villains have a fatal flaw.
Every time.
And hers is her...
Is gravity, apparently.
Remember, kids, gravity always wins.
But it is nice to be able to see her use her power without crying in pain every time or dying a little bit. So she's like back to full-blown recharged, which, again, Ada failed at. 1, because she's being able to do it, and 2, she can not die doing it.
Well, that kind of brings up an interesting point, because Ada, died in the framework, and she woke up in the real world. Mace, on the other hand, as far as we can tell, anything can happen at this point.
Gone.
But
he wasn't even on the charger at the time.
As far as we can tell, he's dead when he died in the framework. Mm-hmm. So maybe it's because Ada's not...
Well, Ada's not really alive. I mean, that's the... Or she's a definition of life that doesn't include biological life, more accurately.
But she's working on that.
Yeah, she's working on it. She's got plans. Which is ultimately, apparently, her ultimate plan, which is to use the Darkhold tech to basically give herself a living, breathing body. Which, the problem with Marvel artificial intelligences is they always want to be real boys. Pinocchio always wants to be a real boy, and I'm not sure this is a good idea.
No.
If I was an artificial intelligence, Ultron has
was
wanted to be a real boy.
exception.
He's wanted to be a real boy sometimes too.
Well, that's true. On occasion.
Yeah, it's not always, but every now and again it pops up one of the storylines. I just need to be alive. It's like, no, you don't. What's wrong with you?
What they need now...
You're immortal?
What they
You're
need
invincible?
now... they need a human, or at least a biological character who wishes they were a machine.
Also been done, yeah. But it tends to be a fatal flaw for a lot of artificial intelligences, is that they want to be human, and it's like, okay, sure, now you're human. Kill them,
Well, and if they knew it wouldn't be so much... They'd be Byronic heroes at that point. That could be fun.
It could be true. So it is a... I don't know, it's been a very interesting series of episodes, bringing these characters in and exploring lives that they could have had. We talked last week about some curious, A to B to Z, kind of do not stare directly at the chain of events to get you there.
Yeah.
Where Phil Coulson would have been, if he'd not been an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., how May's life would have progressed, and all these different things. And some of it doesn't always ring completely true, but it makes for a good story.
Well, what I have to say is, at this point in what's going on with Mac, everybody else has been, this is what they would be, and then they're starting to turn and everything, but Mac seems the only one who is really grabbing on to what this reality is. And I understand with his daughter.
Yeah, it's breaking my heart watching it.
It is. And I am interested to see what type of person he is when he comes out of it. I know we have talked in the past about possibly this could be his way of having closure on the death of his daughter. But at the same time, I really don't want to see that. If I'm crying over Mace dying, God, I don't even want to know what happens at this point. But I am curious. It's like you almost have Fitz, who is evil. Okay, what type of person is he going to turn into outside of it, back in the human world? And then you have the complete opposite that could happen with Mace, getting that and then maybe being at peace and not being that ball of lots of stuff going wrong in his mind.
The shotgun axe wielding Mark, there he is.
No, put the shotgun down. I'm good with life now.
Maybe you could just take the axe off the front. Maybe that'll be it.
All right. So Evil Fitz now in charge of Hydra.
Especially now that Madam Hydra is out of commission. Bedridden as it is, he's in charge. He's the man.
Oh, yeah, that's what
he's
they
in
said,
charge, driven by Daddy.
He was the next head.
Talk about daddy issues. Daddy, fake daddy, whatever daddy is in this one.
Daddy's a monster.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I like how he keeps digging into, the whole, being like your mom. And he, no. I'm going to be like, not my mom. And do what Daddy says. Talk about daddy issues. Therapy. It's where they get their money.
Priority 1 for Fitz: fix the broken window.
So Fitz's dad, and I can't remember the name of the actor. We talked about it last week. We finally figured that out. He of course, was the Irishman in Braveheart.
Yep.
Wickedly funny there. Not so funny here.
No.
Very
dark.
violent. And his interaction. He's a little brutal.
Oh yeah.
His communication style.
A little brutal.
His interrogation style.
Dr.
Radcliffe.
Yeah, he has a few words with Radcliffe, mostly involving.
That is true. He only had a few
thump
words.
and thud and crack.
Yeah, the words were few. The blows to the head were.
It's like
were
the old
not.
Batman. Pow.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm surprised Radcliffe was alive at the end of that.
I was too.
It was pretty brutal. And this has been a darker, for a show that has let itself be darker by the fact that it's on later at night, and so he was able to push more of the horror elements with beginning with the Ghost Rider arc. This has been particularly brutal and showing this very much as a very negative. The consequences of Hydra being in charge is a very brutal existence. There's no upside to this. There's no unless you're. If you're part of it, if you're part of the people in charge, everything's fine. But if you're not, which is most totalitarian.
Yeah,
it's a totalitarian government.
It's kind of it's in the guidebook.
Yeah,
pretty much any fascist type of establishment, whether it's a dictator or if it's a committee.
And interestingly enough, they have, instead of going right to the, Hydra certainly is very much I hate to go straight Godwin, but it's very much a Nazi analog, right? So,
yes.
And it was connected to the Nazis, obviously, in the course of the World War II Captain America, Red Skull kind of thing. But interestingly enough, they went more of the modern totalitarianism versus something that's very much lodged in that 1940s, 1950s. This is very much the world that with this overlaid on top of it. It's not a throwback to an earlier kind of, this is very much our recognizable. And there's a little bit of political commentary going, but not as much as they could have done, which is good. It's not really what they want to go with here. But
it's not, some that I like about it's not too specific of a political commentary.
Right.
So basically, you have people on the right saying, this is what the left is like. The people on the left are saying this is what the people on the right is like.
Which is
and it's almost like showing a mirror to our own society.
Well, yeah, and that's really what you want to do in something like this. You don't want to. You're as storytellers, you're not targeting. You want everybody.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that's been nice. It's been a fairly light touch. There's been a few moments, a few Anvil moments.
Yeah.
But you
Coulson's little comment.
You can't get around the Anvil moments. That's just you're going to have them. And anytime you deal with this, there's just no way to do it without hitting a couple of them.
Yeah. And I think the show, I wasn't exactly sure how it would work out, but going to the later time slot, it's really worked out for it because they can get into a lot of this other stuff that they could not do before.
That is true.
Well, they could, but they had to do it in they couldn't go as deep. They couldn't hit some of the areas. You're not going to. So the first season was such a rough start because they were waiting on they were trying to connect the shows with the movies in a way that just was awkward. So you spun your wheels for the first half of the season and lost a chunk of your audience. And, by the time you got around to the reveal that Ward was the bad guy, you'd hemorrhage so many people watching the show that they never really recovered. And God knows we beat Ward with a stick that first season. Terrible, my God.
And we were trying to be as positive as possible. Well, maybe he's doing this. Well, maybe he's doing this.
Ugh.
And it was
But
Cardboard Ward.
we had this great moment on this episode where Ward, for all the denial that this is the real world, once that seed of doubt has been planted in pretty much every character, it has taken root.
Yeah.
And so for a character who, as far as we know, is a creation, 100% creation of ones and zeros, as far as we know.
What are you trying to say there, Tim?
I'm saying that I think there's a chance that Ward might come back to the show in some form, even though his previous incarnation shouldn't be able to. But
Well, he could always come back the way Ada's planning on coming back.
Yep.
well, you look at this, you look at him, and he's having that conversation where it's dawning on him when he's talking to Daisy that she's going to go, and he can't go with her.
Mm-hmm.
And part of me said, this is where he says, screw you guys. You want to burn down my world.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I was saying
Yeah,
that.
I remember
I was
that.
thinking that.
And I
here,
don't know.
here comes the double crossing Ward.
No, and I don't want. I actually don't want that to happen in this case
Now-
because
Now, we want to see Triplet do that. We want to see Triplet come out because
Well, yeah,
we miss him. But
I don't know.
It's-
I mean, and the issue with this, I mean, that Ward is. I don't necessarily want Ward to come back to the show on a regular basis, but I want this particular version of Ward to stay consistent.
It's a
It
good
would be
character.
nice to have Ward be.
The good guy?
I want him to die saving Daisy. So that he can look right into the camera and go, Sky! Daisy!
You need
So actually
closure.
give
Is
him
that
one
what
of
you're trying
those
to tell us?
longer death scenes than we normally get on TV.
Yes.
or you just want to hear that line, one
I
or
do.
the other.
I really, really do. Any variation of that will do. I will accept that as a win.
Now,
And you can send the prize money
Have
now
that
if
Rose
he
and Jack
does,
moment
to
for them.
Mr. Harvey at sci-fi4me.com.
if he does go all bad guy again over this, what if he takes over one of the others' bodies getting out?
I don't think he can do that. Well,
Now.
there is a virtual version of the Darkhold. Fitz has got the virtual. There's the one inside the framework. There's the one outside the framework. This seems like a bad thing
Oh, it's a terrible idea.
somehow.
I don't know who thought this up.
That there is a virtual one
Someone who gets
and a
paid
real
more than
one,
me.
and they're connected. This seems like a terrible, terrible thing for everyone else except
Yes.
for. I don't know.
But-
I've really enjoyed this arc. It's been very, very cool.
I have to say, and with the adding of the framework and adding of the people, you talk about inside and outside, I'm starting to like the Russian. I'm loving that he's this killer type person, yet he can't do it. He's
Oh, it's very
He's
frustrating.
right there. And the fact that his vodka and onion is just not the same anymore. I don't know. I mean, you talk about, trying to take the real person or take the, fake or the not human person and turn him into a real person. Then you've got the human person who has been turned into a not human person. And of all the characters that it could be done to, he's just making me laugh more and more.
But now you know that the Russian's in LMD, but he's under the same restrictions as Ada.
Oh, and he hates it. He hates it so much.
Well, because
Oh.
he's got the human brain thing going on. The real, he's
Well, he was programmed
Awesome.
by Ada, and because she's got the restriction, he's got the restriction.
equality.
So they're wanting the biological bodies so that they could go ahead and kill all their prisoners, I guess we could call
Anybody?
them at this point. But all right, so now Coulson in the framework seems to have taken his rightful place as director of S.H.I.E.L.D. de facto.
Well, only because the opportunity was there and there was a reason to have it happen. I mean, he didn't seek it out. But when the opportunity was presented to him, he took it.
Yes.
I mean,
Well, I mean, he didn't seek it out the first time he was
yeah,
directed.
exactly.
Yep.
Natural to step up for it.
But it was nice seeing him in a suit again.
Yes.
Yes, that was great.
And just that final reveal when he said to the world, you know, I'm you know, I'm not this. I am an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right.
Yes.
It's like
Yeah.
this was on what's his face, that guy, their propaganda guy, on his TV show.
What is interesting, because if you remember, not so much the movie, because it wasn't handled as well. Although it's a visual thing you can put a reference to. The V for Vendetta
Thank you.
scene, especially in the comic, more so in the comic, where they take over the TV studio.
Yes.
And if it's a good scene in the movie, but the comic scene is so much better. But immediately what I was reminded of was taking over the studio. But interestingly enough, the ending of that scene involves the ordinary people coming out. You're looking at a groundswell of local resistance of the ordinary people rising up against, which is how this stuff happens.
Right.
So-
And that's the one thing. I mean, I'm loving where this show is going right now. But at the same time, I get a little nervous because I feel like they are grabbing a lot from other shows and movies that we have seen in the past. Like the V for Vendetta, I got a lot of that in the other previous ones with, you know, Phil when he was still teaching in the classroom with the kids. And I think I've mentioned this before, The Man in the High Castle, you know, that whole switch. So I am seeing a lot of those references. And it kind of, part of me is how much, I know they're writing for their own, but they're grabbing stuff we're already seeing. How much is this going to be also original to
But I
where
think-
they can be the next?
But I think the problem
Copy.
with that is that it is very, very hard to come up with a new way to tell this kind of story. And it is and bear in mind that Man in a High Castle was written in the 60s. V for Vendetta, the comic, came out in the 80s.
Right.
Some of this stuff has been around for 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years. And so they're playing with big themes. The odds of not finding a place where it had been referenced before is going to be really, really small.
But how can they
especially
take
doing-
that and make it modern to today where it stands out?
Now
that
with
next step?
superheroes? Now with more Batman? I mean,
Wrong show
I mean,
there,
when you got
Tim.
a totalitarian theme, there's kind of, like I said, there's a guidebook there. You know, you got to
Yeah.
have the indoctrination. You got to have these things in place, and there's really
false
not much
history
straying from it.
False histories.
Yeah.
Cameras are everywhere.
Cameras everywhere. People living in fear.
You're back to the whole 1984. You know.
Although oddly enough, I mean, this is a little bit of an aside here. We were talking about this with somebody else not too long ago. The UK has got the most number of cameras
Oh yeah, it's
anywhere. I mean,
Ridiculous.
the entire country, not all of it, but a significant chunk of the population centers are under surveillance. And yet, the privacy concerns, while different there, are very, very real, and the general public is not feeling that sense of totalitarianism, for partially because nobody's watching the cameras all the time. It's not possible.
Right.
There aren't enough people.
but they can always go back and review them if they need to.
Yeah,
so it
but
does
it's-
put that kind of fear into.
Yeah, and but I think
populace.
that's, but I think to some degree they found possibly have found a balance between sense of security and surveillance state. I mean that good and bad part, because when it was happening, it was a slow motion thing. It was kind of a creep,
Yes.
That's
and
how
it
you get
wasn't like a-
totalitarianism.
and it was actually it was a big concern when V for Vendetta was being written. Alan Moore actually was talking about Thatcher's England a lot when he was writing that because he wasn't happy with it. And surveillance state, the police were being armed at that point. It was riot gear was a thing that you were seeing on the streets of London. You'd never seen it before, except out of wartime. And so it's a very different kind of environment, but at the same time, we recognize it in a way with things like Man in the High Castle, where it's us. It's everybody's recognizable.
Yeah.
Everybody looks the way they're supposed to look, only now with more Nazis.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But you talk about the sense of, the sense of surveillance, and it's that's one of the things that a lot of, say, conspiracy theorists talk about is it's a little at a time. It gets you used to it, and then when you're used to it, you don't think about it as much, and even if they're not currently using it against you, the tools are now there. Any totalitarian government now has access to it.
Right.
And that's why, I talking about both political sides are totally freaked out when the other side is using executive powers, but yet they're happy when their own side gets more executive power that the other side is going to abuse later.
When I'm in charge, I'm ruling benevolently. When you're in charge, you're a tyrant.
I thought it was Jason who was trying to take over the world.
He
doesn't want it. Okay.
Jason sat down one day and realized what that would actually entail, and he thought, "No, I gotta sleep."
It's enough trying to put together a broadcast like this.
Yeah, no kidding.
I have a teenager. That's enough.
That's true.
So if you ever want to start trying to think about ruling the world, just go buy yourself a teenager, and you'll learn quickly that it's just really not worth it.
Well, if you think about it, imagine billions and billions of teenagers that you're responsible for now.
And he says that just as his own
Junior
teenager
high and
walked
high
up the
school?
steps.
Don't do it. Do not attempt world domination at home, kids.
Yeah, that's what a lot of tyrants and all seem to overlook is the human factor. There are teenagers. There are children. There are all these people who,
Well,
don't
the people with that mindset, and you look at somebody like Ada, who is, she is ones and zeros. She's an artificial intelligence, but she's still code, right? And she's code with a bit of flexibility and a lot of opportunity to do all these things that she's doing, which is bad programming, kids. There should be build some parameters.
I mean, it kind of says once we have free will, makes us evil. The more free will we have, the more evil we become.
Well, not necessarily. I think that the danger here is so this is exactly what I'm thinking of. The danger here is like you saw in the latest episode of Doctor Who, which is about an artificial intelligences.
Right.
They're not human. They don't think like humans. We tend to assume that an artificial intelligence that we build is going to function like ours to a degree so that it's a relatable creature. But the reality is there's no guarantee of that. And there's no way to sentience, being, for it to be an actual real AI, thinking on its own, there's no guarantee it's going to think like us. And once it stops thinking like us or never thinks like us, it's an alien.
Exactly. Well, you talk about the last Doctor Who episode with those machines with the happy face, the happy faces, but it's also a lot like 2001, which we never found out what the problem was until 2010.
Right.
When Hal, he shut down all their systems. He sent David Poole out into space, and but the thing was, he was given conflicted orders
with
and was trying
weight.
to make sense of it.
With equal weight. He couldn't prioritize one over the other.
Exactly.
But so the idea that Ada's not evil.
Yes, she is.
No.
Oh, Madam Hydra's pretty damn evil.
Ada is not evil. Ada just doesn't think like we do. She does not have a sense of good and evil because she can't.
Well, here's the thing. You look at a lot of villains.
She's weighting variables. She's weighting. What is the outcome she wishes to? What is the outcome she wishes to accomplish?
Mm-hmm.
How does she get there? A to B to C to D. If something's in the way.
Yeah. But keep in mind, you find most villains are the heroes of their own stories. They've got. You get a lot of tyrants go in under benevolent guys because that's what their goal is. They want to make the world a better place, and they're the ones to do it. And so, I mean, how is this? She has her. I wouldn't necessarily altruistic goals, but that in her programmed mind, it's altruism. But isn't that the foundation of most tyranny?
Well,
it's basically here's
the definition of tyranny. She just wants to make us all perfectly safe.
Yeah,
exactly.
She wants us to put us in a little box.
Well,
in a rubber room.
We would be perfectly safe.
Yes.
But here's the thing:
it's all perspective.
If somebody gets in the way of it, though, get rid of them.
Tyranny counts from where you stand.
Yeah, I mean,
If you're standing on the top,
It's not tyranny if you're the tyrant.
exactly.
Skynet thought that man was the biggest threat to himself and
Exactly.
decided, well, let's get rid of them all.
Well, Skynet and the machines in the Matrix.
Well, then
and,
it's like in the early '90s that cartoon, the X-Men, that version of the X-Men, the Days of Future Past they had when Bishop was sent back.
Sure.
But in the future, Bishop was a tracker for the Sentinels, and then they turned on him. He said, "What's the deal?" He says, "Well, actually, it was the primary Sentinel in the past when he said, here's the thing, I'm supposed to protect humans from mutants. The only thing is, mutants are human, therefore I have to save mankind from itself."
You're proving very popular. You have another person downstairs who wants to say hello to you. So wave it.
Okay.
Wave at another friend.
So, so Dustin is making a cameo on level 117 today.
I guess. I am going to have to take off, guys, because Dustin and I do have to head off for our panel, our Zompocalypse Now podcast panel. My favorite moment of the episode?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Well, my favorite moment of the episode was the scene with Ward and Daisy and having that conversation and the look on his face. The look on his face when he realized that she wanted to be anywhere but with him.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't, and the look on her face when she realized it hurt. Both of them. So, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you guys later.
Thank
All right,
you,
thank you, Tim, very much.
Thank you, Tim.
So, all right, since we're on our favorite moments, we'll just go down the table
All
here.
right. I will have to agree. I did really like that moment that Daisy and Ward had in the control room, and it was that moment. And like he said, she wanted to be anywhere but with him. But there was that part of me that has slowly started to really like this Ward, and part of me wanted to see her soften up more than she already did, because she has. I mean, from the very beginning when she woke up in the mainframe with him, oh my lord, to this moment, I mean, she has gotten softer, but part of me would have loved to see that moment, that one little thing that shows that she had some type of place in her heart maybe for him.
Right.
But unfortunately it wasn't. I did enjoy, again, Coulson with, and I am, an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., that type of situation. The kick out the window with, like I said, Ada, where's the line begin? I really want to see this. So, I mean, this episode didn't move me as much as the previous ones have, but obviously if I can come up with, that's 3-4 that I'm just now listing.
Yeah.
So there you go. What about you?
Well, we'll go to Sam here. And
Well, they've all kind of been covered. I mean, Madam Hydra going pew out the window was a lot of fun.
Splat!
yeah.
And, that moment there with Daisy and Ward was just very well done. It was very, very well done.
Yeah.
I can't really think of anything. And of course, Mac just worry about that poor
Yeah,
guy.
that's going to be a really... And I'm wondering if they'll leave something with him more toward the very end of the season,
Yeah.
so they can just kick you in the gut before
Before they take a
leaving
break
you
for
exactly.
Yeah. All right. Before I get to mine, we have Jason Hunt just joined us.
Yes, and I'm jumping in only to mention our sponsor for Sci-Fi For Me Radio, humancharger.com. 20% discount at checkout if you use the code Sci-Fi For Me, and you can. It's basically their LED earbuds, simulated sunlight that goes to your brain through the ear canal. Developed in Finland. Right now, we're running a special. If you use our discount code through the month of April, which
Sci-Fi
of
For
course
Me.
pretty much is over by this month. But yeah, it's supposed to improve your mood, mental alertness, help with your attitude and whatnot. I've been the guinea pig for us. And
Smile?
So okay, so there. So if you go to humancharger.com, you'll get the discount 20% if you enter Sci-Fi For Me in the promo code. And now back to Dan's favorite moment, Maya. Come and jump in. You can take this place here and talk about. Did you watch S.H.I.E.L.D. this week? All right, come around here and you can take my spot then.
All right, we're playing.
Go ahead, Dan. Your favorite moments are.
We're playing musical chairs with our people on camera because everybody's doing everything.
Should we remove a chair and start tackling each other?
All right. Well, we're up to favorite moments.
Oh, cool. So I got in on the very last bit, right?
Well, pretty much.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
Okay, nothing like jumping in right at the end here.
It's participation.
You made it just in time because Maya's usually with us on level 1187, so we had to have you here for
and
this.
Usually from the start of the podcast, not jumping in at the very end with favorite moments. Golly, my favorite moment. That's kind of hard. I liked the part with May when she and Sky Daisy. Daisy is asking her why she's now helping her, and she explains that when somebody saves your life, you have to question if you're actually fighting for the right side. And
yes.
I was glad that they gave the reason that's one of my favorite moments is because they helped to explain why she changed sides, because without that it becomes a lot of hand of the writer stuff that we always talk about.
And she's not mindlessly loyal.
She's not mindlessly loyal, right.
She's a thinking individual.
Right, and that also is going to help us understand why and how she's able to break free, because obviously she's going to be one of those people that realizes this is not reality. And we've known all along, because of what she went through with her spa experience, that she's already gone through this enough times. She broke out, and she broke out of the main network, right? Mainframe.
The
network.
framework.
The framework, whatever.
It's called the framework.
Yeah.
A little bit of both.
It's the framework, mainframe, whatever.
And she had to literally. She almost made it. She almost battled her way out of the holding place that she was in. So I've always felt like I thought she was going to be the key to getting out of there. Turns out it's actually Coulson. I think he was the first one to, realize from his Tahiti experience, magical
his brain's
place.
already been scrambled.
Right, that, he realized that something's not right here, and he was the first one, I think, to start questioning it. You guys have probably covered this.
Well, I'm going to say just really fast before you cover it, you made me remember, because I know I always mention how there's always those one-liners that we're getting.
Yep.
And right now, because it is so dark,
yeah.
we aren't getting those one-liners the way we have done in the past with a little bit of a, But it reminded me of when Daisy and May were going through, and they're in the little cubicle room, and she made a comment about, that looked good, or, you look good or something. Oh, it feels good. Because Daisy all of a sudden was like, oh, I just got regenerated. But I don't have the exact quote written down.
Well, you're
but
looking
it did
better or something
yeah,
like that.
exactly. So I'm just throwing that in. But go ahead.
So you guys may have covered this very thoroughly. I've been, as you said, running around doing other things. But one of the things that I was a niggling thing for me about this episode was how this framework, this network, there are people that our characters are not connected to in any direct way, and yet we see them having their own lives, having coffee, watching the news. How does this programmed world support all of these individual lives that are not, even when they're not being directly connected to the main people that are hooked up with the headgear and, their body slab thing and all of that? I can't. And it bothered me because that's kind of like a science thing. It's like, this doesn't make sense to me.
Well, as one of the science writers, as a science writer for Sci-Fi for Me, I've got my ideas on how it can work. I've got my ideas. Whether or not it would be true, I don't know. So
yeah,
but I do.
But
do
did
think
that bother other people?
It did at first until I started getting some ideas. Well, maybe it's this. Okay, I'll let it fly. I'm not going to look. As Tim, who has left for a panel, often says, do not stare too intensely at the comic book story.
Yeah, I know, but I have a feeling that either that's a gross oversight by the writers, or it's something important. And I'm not
Right.
sure which it is at this point. I don't know if they just didn't think this through and think, oh, you know what? A program can't be functioning without our main people actually interacting with that part of the program.
Uh-huh.
Well, they
And
do
yet
it in
we've
video
been-
games all the time.
Hmm?
I said they do it in video games all the time. You got, you play Skyrim and the blacksmith and his wife, walk over to the store and buy stuff and come around and come back, and they do all these things.
It's
as
a
like
huge
it's
world,
a-
though,
it's a-
to create. I mean,
If she can create
So
it
is
as detailed,
Skyrim.
yeah, Skyrim's a pretty big one. If she can create it as detailed as that, they can't tell the difference, then it'd be
Yeah.
very similar.
And
I mean, we
and
don't know
I-
what kind of hardware she's working with, what kind of programming she's got in there.
And one of the thoughts that I had, when I'll go ahead and throw this out there, what if, maybe not everybody is seeing things exactly the same because it's tripping a dream part of the brain. They
Right.
just feed the information, this person does this, or this person does this, it just locks in, and then the mind fills in the rest of the equation.
the details.
Yeah, so maybe what they're presenting us is not necessarily how each individual person sees it. They're kind of in a dream world that's being fed to them as a reality. So,
Well, Ada on the outside talked about May rebelling against her programming. So it's almost like they're not human anymore. Once they're hooked into the machine and they're a part of the framework, their choices in a way been taken away from them because they have their programming. And I wonder, May's programming obviously does not prohibit her from killing people in the framework because she's been quite capable of that. Yeah. Another thing that I was wondering about, holding a body in front of you really stop bullets?
it depends on the
Every
bullets.
TV shows that.
I know.
If something happens, you're going to be pulled in front of me.
I'm also pretty sure that a car will stop bullets.
Well, it
Depends on the
No.
car.
well as
Yes,
I,
but
I
in
will
TV
tell you.
shows, if you're behind a car, you're safe.
Yeah, if you're behind a car door,
I will tell you,
You're
it
safe.
depends. It depends on the type of bullet.
Speaking
so-
from experience.
I've done some shooting in my day, so we'll just, not people, not people.
Okay, just making sure
But I
here.
put some paper
Clarification.
targets out of their misery.
Should we start
Okay.
cutting underneath to see if there's some metal?
Oh,
It's almost like they're going to put me in the framework
So,
sometime soon.
Dan,
But anyway, my favorite,
was yours?
my
Yeah.
favorite moments. Some of the ones that have been mentioned, yes. But there's one little thing that hasn't been mentioned because being a longtime comic book fan. Sadly, when the local comic shop where I live closed, I haven't been able to keep up with them since. But before that, I was big into DC and Marvel as well as some others. Something I always loved was those moments when somebody has their powers and then they discover they can do something new with it. Something that they hadn't done before. Ooh, this is good. And you know that the storylines are going to reflect that later on. That's going to come back to bite him or whatever. But to see Daisy using she's got her powers in the framework, something we've never really seen her do something like in the real world. They launched that grenade at her. She used the powers and just launched it, knocked it right back at him, right back into the vehicle. Boom. And I was like, dude, I didn't know she could do that. She could. Well, the thing is, we've seen her do all different things with the force of that, with that concussive force.
yeah. Yeah.
But to see
a
her,
little bit of that when she was on the street.
she knocks people against the wall all the time.
she does, but
Picks stuff up and throws it. Happened to be a different
it's not necessarily a new aspect of her power, but a new way she's used it.
Okay, fair enough.
Is kind of what I'm getting at, because that grenade's coming at her, and she's like, no, back at you. It's like, oh, this will be good in the future.
One of the nice things for her is that in the framework, using her powers is not shattering her bones.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
She doesn't seem to be suffering any ill side
I-
effects of
I-
using her power.
I think later on, though, before actually going to the framework, she had less problem with that. She had to have the gauntlets
she had
earlier.
to have the gauntlets.
She had to have the gauntlets earlier on to control it because of that problem. Later on, I don't think she was using them, was she? I don't remember.
She has been outside of the framework, so
okay,
it's
sorry.
kind of she's got the power, which she wasn't expecting to be able to do because May is now rocking, and but she also has it where it's that perfect world because she has no limitations.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Well, there's that, but maybe she's this being in the framework is helping her learn to use it a little bit better, giving her at least on the psychological end, giving her a little bit of practice and rehearsal, and then she can use it better when she's outside.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay, if she's
and she said to May, because May was amazed at how well the command that she already has of her power, and she's like, I've had some practice.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, I'm kind of curious now. She's had the power inside the mainframe, and when she gets outside of it, she'll still have her power, but she's going to be going back to old human Daisy. So I'm kind of curious to see how, she's had a taste of the good life again.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, just food for thought.
I don't know. She's been hunted in
rest
both,
of it.
hunted in the real world and hunted in the framework. She's not had a real easy go of it in either place. So it's not been fun.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've talked about our favorite moments. Let's go ahead and do our least favorite. Some we didn't like. Some we could have seen done better. We'll start with Maya. You seem to have something in your mind already.
Yeah, and this is a tiny, tiny little thing, but it's a costuming note, actually. The shot when May and Daisy are walking along the street and they're fugitives and they're trying to hide, they have put Chloe Bennett in the most obnoxious shoes because that poor girl can barely walk. And it really takes away from being a badass girl if you can't walk.
I'd say that takes away from anybody in that position.
Yeah.
Regardless of gender, when you can't walk.
And so
unless you're like
really
Professor X or
something. It took
something.
me out of the story because I was watching her, trying to walk in these ridiculous shoes. They may look cool, but any nice black boots would have looked cool on her outfit, and she could have walked then.
It's the whole fact that it seems like, and me having not a strong background in comics and superheroes and stuff, the fact that they always put women in heels.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I mean,
remember the
unless
TV
I'm
show
doing
Chuck?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh,
they
yes.
would put her in the most ridiculous footwear.
Yes.
And she would still kick butt.
Yep.
I know it, but and I know, okay, yes, this is not reality, but I'm sorry, unless you're wearing, the Spice Girl type platforms where you actually have some control and balance, no. But anyway.
Who was it? Ginger Rogers was able to do the same dance moves as the guy, but backwards.
Yes.
And in heels.
Yes.
So
yes.
I would say that there, if she's tough enough and cool enough, she could pull it off.
So what he's saying is women are more talented
and stronger.
Okay, fine. I will. Okay, we can go for the heels on that.
Oh,
Dan
geez.
has said women are stronger and more talented.
I did not say stronger. I said
in your own way you did.
Okay, since you're twisting my words, I'll let you ponder on that. We'll go to Sam. We'll come back to you.
What were we talking about? I lost you at shoes.
All right, least favorite moment.
Least favorite moment.
He's back on the shoes.
He can't get his head around shoes.
Yeah. I thought it was a pretty solid episode, honestly. I can't think of one that really stuck out.
I see smoke.
Well, the closest thing I could get to is when Coulson made the alternative facts comment.
Oh, yeah.
I was amused, but at the same time, I'm like, can we just tell a story and not bring any politics in there? So that's about it.
Okay, fair enough. All right, now we're back to you. Least favorite moment.
It's that moment in the show where they go to break. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. We'll be right back.
And then you expect to actually find something new when you come back, but no, it's just the credits.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
Least favorite part because, What? No, I'm not ready yet.
Exactly.
What about you, Dan?
All right. I would say, all right, even though I give myself this kind of talk to the opposite, convincing myself, okay, maybe it's because they have so many people hooked up to the framework at the time, and it might make things a little difficult. But what gets me is Ada was able to reset things how many times when May was in the spa mode.
Right.
Now that things are not going her way, why doesn't she just reset it? So I just keep telling myself, maybe it's because they have so many people in the framework, it's hard to reset each of these. It's easy on all the I think we have a comic coming here.
Do not look too closely at the comic book TV show.
Okay, I'll give you that.
Yes, we've gone down the rabbit hole on this episode quite a few times.
Exactly, but like I say, I just keep telling myself, because they've got so many people hooked in, it's really hard to repair all of them at once, where it'd be fairly simple to repair on one person. That's
Although
why
I'm still with you. I
They're
think
in
she could just blank them all and bring them back to a set point and start again.
And it could also be that she could reset the
maybe
people
she
she has
doesn't want
access
to.
Yeah, or she can reset the ones that she has access to, but because they had not yet found Daisy and and Gemma.
Wouldn't that reset her? That would reset her though too.
That would reset her
Ada.
program.
Ada.
That would reset her program in the framework. But the thing
maybe
is,
she doesn't want to go back and reset her own framework, her own program, and maybe that's why she's not.
Well, she's got the program on the outside,
I'm
so
looking too closely.
You're looking too closely. We'll see
we're
what
looking
ends
too
up
closely
happening
at it.
this
So,
point.
I mean, so overall, we seem to have liked this episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've got a few more episodes before it ends in a few weeks, and we'll see where we kind of go from there at this point.
Because we know we're getting the Inhumans.
Yes.
Right.
But are we going to get any more S.H.I.E.L.D.? We don't know yet.
Nope. Still waiting on that.
We would hate to see it go.
Probably in the next few weeks. We may hear a little bit since everybody is announcing their schedules for next year.
ABC's usually later than the others on announcing their schedules. I mean, they're into like May or that type of thing. So, but we'll see what happens then. So I want to thank everybody. The now absent Tim Harvey.
Thank you, Tim.
Also the now absent Dustin, who made a neat little cameo. Jason Hunt, who presented with our sponsors, and around the table, Sam Sentman.
Thank you.
Mindy Enlow.
Thank you.
And my aides.
Hey, it was a joy to come in at the end.
Thank you.
Absolutely. We're glad to have had you. I'm Dan Handley. What? Oh, and if you have any comments, you want to get in on our discussion, you agree with us, disagree with us, think we're out of our minds, let us know. You send us an email at level1177@sci-fi4me.com. And of course, as always, check us out on all of our social media. If we have social media, we are there. Facebook, Twitter, our Instagram, which we're posting stuff from Planet Comic Con here this weekend. Pinterest, which is built around cosplay. Our YouTube channel, which you could be watching right now, unless you're watching on channel 25. And we are also on Tumblr, and Google Plus. So keep in touch with us. Let us know what you think, and thank you for joining us.
Bye, guys.
Okay, so now we get to swap out live on TV. This is live TV, folks.
This is live TV, folks. We do the quick musical chairs. So hey.
How are you?
Okay.
All right, so let David have that one.
Absolutely.
Great. While we are live,
So,
let's see here.
You asked me to email anything to talk about. I think that since you're sci-fi, we talk about the movie that I did with Toy, because
Yes.
Karen Gillan stars in it.
Karen
and
Gillan.
She is. The movie's not sci-fi, but it is starring Karen. Hello.
Right. We are live
Are
with
we live?
David Desmalchin. How are you,
Hi,
sir?
everybody. I'm great. It's good to see you all.
This is the beauty of live TV. We just go. Okay, so David Desmalchin, graduate of Shawnee Mission South High School.
Nothing greater than a Raider.
My kid's a North Indian, so we're gonna.
Oh well,
we're gonna be okay.
the Shawnee Mission
Still
North
Shawnee.
Indians knocked us out of our. I played football in high school, and we on our way to the state championship. We were really good that year. Shawnee Mission North is the team that beat us. that knocked us out of our contention at state. So I have a bone to pick with Shawnee Mission North.
Well, and not only did you play football, you've done a number of different things before getting into acting.
This is true.
Professional.
That is true. There are things on the internet that I don't know where they came from, how they got there, what they say about me. I got a scholarship to go from Kansas to Chicago to study acting at DePaul's Theater School, and even though I had a scholarship, I still needed money for things like rent and food and stuff. So I took a break from college, and I'd always dreamed of working on the ocean. I don't know why. It was just something like my Ernest Hemingway. I wanted to go on.
Well, I would imagine, it's a product maybe of being landlocked in the middle of
growing up in Kansas.
City.
I was always fascinated with the ocean, and so I went and I worked on fishing boats in Alaska, and I loved it so much that I kept going back, and I did it for a while, and it was a great job, and I learned a lot about myself and the world, and I got to meet people from all over the world. It was really cool.
Now, what in that job, and then of course it says in your IMDb profile, it says you are also a circus performer, you are a movie theater usher. I don't know how much of that is. But.
Circus performer. I mean, my life is a circus, so that's kind of true. Okay. My 3-year-old son, is like many of the animals at a circus, so I do feel like I'm a ringleader at home sometimes.
Yeah.
Movie theater usher is true, and it's it was a great experience because it's public knowledge. I'm not revealing anything big here, but I battled with substance abuse and addiction in my past, and I got clean 15 years ago. And when I did, I found myself as this college graduate who had once had a promising acting, career, who was suddenly like, I didn't know where to start. I didn't know what to do, and I just wanted to get like a regular job. But I love movies so much, and I'm such a fan of the world of film. So I went to my local movie theater. I was living in Chicago at the time, and I got a job at the Webster Place movie theater. And it was a hard job, but I loved it. And I worked there for a long time. And then I started to slowly ingratiate myself back into the artistic community of Chicago, and then eventually got involved in theater, which led to getting cast in my first movie, which was The Dark Knight.
The Dark Knight. And you were one of the followers of the Joker in that movie.
That's like a pattern, isn't it? Isn't that strange?
Then you were a follower of the Joker in Gotham.
It's just like, I guess I am a follower of crazy people who are evil, and the Joker, I'm a lifelong comic nut. I've been reading comics since I was in the 3rd grade. I was always very devoted to the DC villains and the Marvel heroes, which is interesting because I've worked for the DC villains and I've worked for the Marvel heroes now as like a professional actor.
You're Ant-Man.
Yeah, I'm Kurt, his computer hacker.
Yeah. And you're going to be in the new movie, Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yes.
Okay,
Ant-Man and the Wasp. You want some dirt? Let's see.
Yes,
I can tell you, Kurt's hair is going to get even higher. It's going to become weaponized because Hank Pym can weaponize anything if he chooses to.
That's right.
So the molecular structure of Kurt's hair is going to actually convert into little, growing and shrinking missiles. So that's a scoop.
But do you get to honk the horn?
That was Dave and Luis got to honk it in the last one. Once by accident, once for fun. So I'm going to honk it.
Okay.
No, whether I get to, I'm going to. Yep. So yeah, man, I it's been really surreal getting to work for the Joker, who's always been my favorite villain. I mean, when I was a little boy, I had Joker posters all over my wall, and now as a grown-up, to work for him has been pretty awesome.
So, having been on 2 different Batman-related productions, what are the biggest differences that you've noticed in how they're approaching the source material?
I think that there's a lot of differences. Well, first of all, the TV medium is just a totally different way of creating and telling story because it's serialized. Even though films are serialized the way like comic books are, a movie, you really like beginning, middle, end. You want to give the audience that 2 hours of going on a journey and then having a resolution. Whereas with the TV show, you want to go on a journey and then leave them hanging at the end of each episode so they're coming back for more. So that changes the nature of the storytelling. Much broader range of characters on Gotham than there was in a film, because you have the luxury of all that time where you can introduce so many other characters. And there's two ways that comic book storytelling, in my opinion, and storytelling in general, is very effective. And one is embracing the outlandish, colorful, bigger-than-life nature of mythic storytelling, almost like the Greek storytelling that we find in things that, like the way that Gotham is done, and the way like The Flash is done, and a lot of really amazing shows on TV. They embrace that like bigger-than-life, almost cartoon-like nature that comes straight from the comic books.
Right.
The bright colors, the noir tone. I love the look and the design and the way the cinematography works on Gotham. You go to like The Dark Knight, there's the other approach, something that really wasn't introduced into the world of comic books themselves until like, you know, maybe like Frank Miller and other guys like that started to take a more realistic approach. And The Dark Knight, I think that was especially effective because Bruce Wayne and the Batman and all the heroes that Nolan chose to introduce in those films don't necessarily have superpowers. They are super and heroic, but they were human beings.
Right.
And it was steeped in almost like a Michael Mann kind of gritty, dramatic realism. So they're just two different ways of telling stories, both incredibly effective, both incredibly entertaining and cool. And I love playing in both worlds. Like, I think if we're going to go make a comic book and adapt it into a movie tomorrow, we make a choice. We go, do we want this to be straight up drama, gritty, and play it straight, and don't introduce supernatural elements, or, you know, make it very realistic? Or do we go the other way? The only time I think it doesn't work is when people try to do both.
Right.
And it loses focus, it loses tone, and, you know.
And that's one of the things that we talked about with Gotham, is that there are, especially early, you know, between second and third season, it didn't seem like the show really knew what kind of show it wanted to be until they decided, okay, we're full on crazy now. They're just going to embrace it and go. And,
absolutely.
And they seem to have found their voice now.
I agree. I think the show keeps getting better because they have really found what they are and how it works. And I think that that was what was so fun about playing Dwight. This character who was like, he was almost out of my favorite, you know, Universal horror films, because he's like a mad scientist.
Right.
Plus he's a cackling psychopath. You've got like humor introduced in great ways. That leaps off the pages of comic books, you know, especially Golden Age stuff. And you think about the way that like we all fell in love with comics. To me, it reminds me of that.
Right. Now, some of the things that you have said kind of gives away your background and skills as a filmmaker yourself, because you not only are an actor, but you're also a writer, you're a producer. You were here last year making a film, All Creatures Here Below.
That's right.
With
in
Karen
Kansas
Gillan.
City, with Karen Gillan, who played Amy Pond on Doctor Who. She was one of the companions to Doctor, and she's also Nebula in the Guardians of the Galaxy. She's also an incredible filmmaker herself. She writes and directs independent drama. She is a super talented artist. She plays the lead in this film that we made here in Kansas City, directed by my very good friend Colin Shifley, who directed a film called Animals that I made in 2013. The film is a drama. It's a family. It's a story about a couple who are desperate to want a family, to have children, and for reasons that we don't necessarily understand, they cannot. And they end up taking a child that's not their own. And they go on the run, and they end up hiding out in Kansas City, which is where they're from.
Okay.
Which is where I'm from, and where most of the stories that are very meaningful to me come from, because this is my history, is in the landscape of Kansas City and all over Missouri, parts of Kansas. So it was a dream for me. I got to come back, work with an incredible local collection of artists, talent, support, and then bring in some friends from out of town, and I'm hoping to do it again and again and again and again.
Yeah, but now talking to the people over at the Kansas City Film Office, which now has the city has their own film incentives now, and I'm sure that played a big part in
the Kansas City Film
here.
Office is the reason why we made the last movie here, and it will be the reason why we'll make other movies here.
Now, your next film, though, is you're looking to come back next year.
We are trying.
Hoping to.
We're doing everything we can to bring. I wrote another film. I set it here. And I am actually bringing some producers into town in a few weeks to show them Kansas City, show them why we want to shoot here, and the director that I want to make this film. We're going to bring people in. There's an incredible woman named Steph Scuppum who runs the Kansas City Film Office. And there's also an amazing Missouri Film Office, too. Andrea and those guys are amazing. So I met Steph and that whole gang, and they're so passionate and so committed to getting film and TV made here in town. And they put on a heck of a demonstration when I'm able to bring people from LA in and show them why it makes sense to make your movie here.
Right.
And so I hope we can I want to make horror movies here. I want to make adventure movies here, dramas, all kinds of films.
Well, and we have quite a bit of local talent here, like you were talking about, especially when it comes to horror, because it's less expensive, I'll say, so it's easier to make. So we have a thriving community here in the film world.
Yeah.
American Ninja Warrior was just here for their second time.
Yep.
We've had a number of films get shot here besides the ones that you've been working on. So yeah, it's one of those things where we're looking to try to increase that footprint as well. And you're right, Steph does a bang up job over there trying to put this thing together. Speaking of committed and enthusiastic, you have a number of fans that are probably waiting at your table now for autographs.
It's so awesome being here in Kansas City, meeting all these local comic and film geeks who are just like me. So I'll go say hi to some more people. But thanks for wanting to talk to me.
Yes,
it was a
David
pleasure.
Dismulsion, thank
you, everybody. Sci-Fi for me. Thanks for having me. Am I right?
Yes.
All right.
You're right.
Thanks,
all right.
guys.
Good
I
luck with
appreciate
your next project. And are we going to see you on The Flash anytime soon again?
The Flash next season. That's one of those that, speaking of the fans, like, I think that it's always contingent upon the response. And fortunately, people seem to really like what Abra was doing.
Yeah.
So I think there's a good chance that he'll be causing more problems for Barry and the gang.
All right. David Dismulsion, thanks very much for your time. Enjoy your time in Kansas City again.
Bye, everybody.
Home. All right, where are we going next? Let's see. Who is... we have so many different cards here.
Yeah, what?
And we have people standing by for interviews, and I'm looking for the card, and I don't see the card. Let's hold on. Is that Thaddeus over there?
Yes.
Thaddeus, come on in here. Who's going to talk to Thaddeus? I guess I will. See, here we go. It's starting to pick up. This is what happened at Worldcon. The first day, everybody's kind of figuring things out. We're getting our feet under us. By the time we get to the end of the con, we're just rolling one to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. All right, Thaddeus Novak joins us now. He is the author of the Heirs of, what is it, Cothels? Cothel. Heirs of Cothel series of books. There are 5 currently in the series. He's got a few here for our visual aid. Vanna over here, Maya as Vanna. Can we even see? Let's adjust our shot here so we can see Maya. Dan, can you pan so we can see Maya a little bit there? Live video, folks. All right, so Thaddeus Novak, tell us about the Heirs of Cothel series.
Well, this is a series I've been working on for a
right
little while.
Right up there on the mic.
Sorry. This is a series I've been working on for a little while. It's about a young woman whose father and brother are off fighting in a war, and she's stuck at home in the castle with her mother, but her mother's been plotting a few things, so she has to try to escape and see if she can get out to rescue her father and brother. She happens to be the youngest daughter of the king, as well as being a witch.
Oh, that's always a good combination.
It is always helpful. Other than in this world, people tend to burn witches.
Oh.
So that's a little bit of a trouble for her. The first book, Mother's Curse, actually comes from the tradition that a mother who commits a sin against the gods will have a child born a witch. So Stephanie is in fact her mother's curse. Now there's another tradition that holds that should Stephanie die, that curse would rebound against her mother, and
the mother becomes a witch.
And mother becomes a witch.
I see.
Now, in this world, I created the magic system be mostly based off of physics. So it's a little bit different, but people don't understand how it works, so they're thinking in the terms of the spells and the curses.
So it goes back to one man's science is another man's magic type of thing.
Yes,
Yeah,
quite a bit. the idea is more of if you can manipulate things with your mind. If you add energy into something, then you're going to make heat. If you take it away, it'll get cold. If you can manipulate gravity, you can move things or make things fly. So that's the concept with that. But when people lose the understanding of how it works and they start chanting something, then now I have to chant it to make something happen. So that superstition and lore has taken over the world.
Right. I remember in my high school physics class, Coach Sanders, Cindy Sanders, she drilled into us, there is no such thing as cold. There is only the absence of heat energy. She said it over and over, and I still remember that. And some of my classmates had the toughest time wrapping their head around that because it's cold. No, It's not. There's no heat. And the way you're talking in physics, the magic and stuff kind of works in a similar fashion.
Very much so.
The physical world.
I've tried not to put too much of the technical into it to overwhelm, but I have a background in math and chemistry and science. I took engineering physics for the fun of it. 9 years after my last differential equations class, my wife said, we got to take a class. She wanted to take a photography class. So I was like, that sounds like fun, but I was a high school photography editor. I don't really need a darkroom class.
Right.
So she said, you got to take something. So I was like, engineering physics, that looks like fun.
Now, you talk about the world building. What got you started in writing the books to start with? What prompted this, and how much, you talk about the research into the science as magic, how much world building have you done that, and keeping track of it now for 5 books?
Well, there's a couple of things. It started off a long time ago as a map for another book, and I actually have a full-size map of the world. And as you can see, that has been going on for 10 plus years or more. I was doing gaming.
Okay.
This particular series takes place right down in here for the first book. Second book takes them a little further north, and then you got west, and then the 4th and 5th books take them all the way to the top of the world.
Okay.
So I've done a lot of thought on it, but then there's some random things that happen. You probably can't see here, but I do have some larger maps on my webpage. But there's a country called Midland in there, and just a happenstance, it was the only country that bordered both seas. So, that leads into me thinking, that's probably a trade power. They've got, communications going back and forth.
Access to trade routes.
Transportation.
Sure.
Probably a little bit more tolerant of other people, maybe speak a lot of languages. So it builds into the culture just because of an accidental happenstance on the map.
So Midland's more the cosmopolitan,
somewhat
city that never sleeps type of environment.
Not so much in this world. It's a little bit more gritty. I like to call this a realistic fantasy as opposed to a high fantasy. Not quite as dark as Gotham. A fewer bats flying around, but it's set in kind of a medieval European time frame. And as a result, one of the things I've always loved, because I love maps, is I've decided to build old world style maps. And so this is a map of the country Kothel, where Stephanie comes from.
And the diagrams, the artwork here is very reminiscent of something from Tolkien or that the Middle Age type of things. That was a deliberate choice on your part because of the setting of the books, or you just from a style art?
When I was starting to build this, I went and did a lot of research on old maps, and I was surprised by the vivid colors that they had in them.
Yep.
And so what I wanted to do with this one was make a parchment effect and have it as an old world style map. And so a little bit of Tolkien, a little bit of some of those, but then also just legitimate historical maps that existed out there. And I was really surprised. Like I said, the vivid colors. There was some very fluorescent stuff. I mean, some very flamboyant maps that existed in the old days, and so that's what I've tried to capture with this one.
So how are you keeping track of all of the details from one book to the next so you make sure that you don't have any continuity errors, and somebody's going to go, well, on page 83 of Daughter's Justice you said this, but in Mother's Curse it was this?
Lots of spreadsheets. So I've got a lot of that stuff in there, but I've also gotten into the characters. When I was growing up, my family had the only boys in the neighborhood, and so I was raised by the neighborhood girls. And when I sat down to write this story, I wanted to tell it from the standpoint of a strong female. And to me, that is somebody who makes a decision and inspires others to follow them. Not someone necessarily who goes off and saves the world on their own,
right?
But someone who is inspiration. And so I got into the character, really, really deep. I could, no matter what was going on, I could figure out what they were thinking and doing. And so that helped a lot in being able to maintain that. But I do an outline format as opposed to the architect style versus a discovery writer. I used to be a discovery writer. It's fun. You let the story unfold as it goes.
You also have a tendency to not find your ending. I've done
Yes.
that. It's like, well, where am I going with this?
Well, and George R.R. Martin is a famous discovery writer, and that's why it's so many years between books.
I think David Gerald does it that way as well. It's probably why we haven't gotten our next Tor book yet, even though he says he's working on it.
Yes.
Where's that book, David?
So for me, I sat down and set up an outline for it. I knew I wanted something about 100,000 words for the first one, Mother's Curse, and I wrote in, one sentence thing, introduce characters, Stephanie meets Henton, this happens, that happens,
right.
And estimated out the number of words. And when I got done with it, I hit 100,000. I stopped adding adding scenes, and I sat down and started writing. And it took about 2 months for the book to come out because of that. And then I hit 96,500 words and said, oh, well, I could write another scene. And I said, no, that's good enough. It's where it needs to be.
Now, are these self-published, or you're going through a publisher now, or is it just...
This is all independent. About 6 years ago, I was, I threw some stuff out there. Writing query letters is a completely different skill than writing a novel.
Right.
And I wrote a few query letters, and I didn't get a lot of bites on it. And so I sat down and I just said, okay, I'll give it a go this way as opposed to the traditional. I am looking. I'm working on another series right now, set in the same world. It is. I'm borrowing from Norwegian and Scottish culture and history, and the main character is going to be living in an occupied country, and she's got to figure out what she wants to do about that.
Okay.
Now that series, I'm going to look at doing traditional as opposed to the independent route, just because of a little bit wider distribution networks and stuff like that.
Sure. Now, have you based on the track record for these books, are you finding that it's easier to talk to traditional publishers now as opposed to when you got started with this?
Well, and that's something that I haven't done, but I've been told by several people, including some people at some of the bookstores around. They had said, well, you need to really go take this back to a traditional publisher,
right?
And just to get that extra distribution. It's one of the things that is on my list, but it's timing.
The guys from Wordfire Press are here.
Yep.
That's Kevin J. Anderson's outfit, and I don't know if they're taking anybody, but when we talked to them at Worldcon, I think maybe they were looking at bringing on some more authors, so that might be a place where you can touch base with them and tell them we sent you.
I will definitely do that.
We were talking
definitely
to these
do
guys.
that.
Kevin's a really great guy. I mean, and we talked, like I said, we talked to a number of their authors over at Worldcon back in August. They're all great, and this would fit right into their repertoire of material. So
yep.
Yeah, I would say hit the Wordfire guys and say, hey, read my book.
Here's a whole series. You need to market them and publish them out there. Yep.
So when is the next one due to come out?
Well, this series is pretty much complete. The story arc that I had envisioned when I sat down to write this, it came from a period of time when I was doing that discovery writing. I got stuck with the scene, so I was writing random scenes with random characters just to kind of get inspiration. And I wrote a scene about a young woman all alone in the world. She went into a public house to beg some food. A fight broke out, and she used magic to defend somebody else. And the whole town turned against her, including the person she was defending, and they drove her out of the town. And that scene actually still survives mostly intact in Mother's Curse, which was the genesis for this whole series.
Right.
But that story arc that I had envisioned from discovering who that person was wraps up with these 5 books.
So Mother's Curse is the first one.
Mother's Curse is the first one.
Okay.
And then Daughter's Justice, Daughter's Revenge, Daughter's Search, and then Father's Legacy.
And where can somebody find all of these? Website, email, Amazon?
Amazon, Barnes & Noble. I've got ebooks as well as the print copies. You can meet me at various conventions, like Planet is an excellent one. I do Smallville later on this year. I won't be in town for KC Comic Con, unfortunately, this year, but I do those. I've got a couple of local bookstores that have copies of it. And as far as the maps go, I am looking to set up an e-commerce site to sell the maps. I just finished the Old World style one this month, actually, so it is hot off the press. And once I get that set up, I'll do mail order for those maps.
Okay, and the website, ThaddeusNovak.com, but it's tricky because Novak is spelled with a W.
Exactly.
So N-O-W. Now, we will link, when we break all of these interviews out separately, we will have links to everything in the notes. So we'll make sure to link to Thaddeus' website so you can check that out. Heirs of Cathal. Cathal.
Yep.
Cathal. See, that's the thing. When you get into fantasy books, when you get into these things where you're just making up stuff, you know, like Jack Kirby did with all of this, it's like, how do you pronounce this stuff? Because you want to make sure you get it right.
Yes. Well, and
do you have a pronunciation guide in your books?
I don't, because I try to make them mostly, as you pronounce them as you would see them. My last name is came with my parents, so I didn't have a lot of choice in that one.
Is it Norwegian?
It is. Well, my mother is Norwegian, actually, and my father's Polish.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So that's where the Germanic in the Novak comes from.
Right.
My middle name was supposed to be Odin, because my grandfather was named Odin, but my other grandmother decided not to have that, so I wasn't named after a Norse god, and I'm really...
Well, hopefully the fans will read these and find you worthy anyway. And like I said, you can find that on ThaddeusNovak.com. And you're here at the booth all weekend?
I'm here all weekend, booth 2340.
Okay, and you will be at Smallville Comic Con. We'll probably see you there.
Yep. And I do other local events, and I keep my webpage up to date as far as different things that I'm going to be doing.
Okay, all right. The series, Heirs of Cathal, Thaddeus Novak, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Pleasure. I'm glad to have you.
And we are continuing our coverage here. What's next? Do we have a next? Okay, so here's what we're going to do. It is right now 12:20. So the Zompocalypse Now panel is going on as we speak over in one of the other panel rooms. Tim Harvey and Dustin Adair are over there recording that. And let's see what we have coming up here. We've got some cosplayers dropping in at 1:15. We have, hopefully, if the technology cooperates with us, at 1:30, we're going to be talking with Carlos Pedraza, who's the editor of Axamonitor.com. We're going to get an update on the current status of the Star Trek Axanar CBS lawsuit, the fan film lawsuit. So we'll get an update from him, assuming that the technology cooperates with us. We're going to pray to the Google gods and see if that is going to work. And then, of course, at 3 o'clock, Sci-Fi for Chicks, we're going to have an interview with Dawn Aldrin, who's working on a project called Her Pal. It is about some of the other female superheroes who have faded into obscurity back in the 1930s and 40s. It's a documentary series that they're working on, and we will be talking to her about that over on Sci-Fi for Chicks. And we are going to take a break here for just a moment. It is right now just after 12:20. Tell you what, we will come back straight up at 1 o'clock. We're going to give the staff time to go grab something to eat and do other various sundry things, pass out some business cards, take some photographs. In the meantime, check out our social media. We are on all of the social media: Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Google+, YouTube, Tumblr, Pinterest. Our Pinterest boards are all cosplay all the time. There's a photo gallery there if you need some inspiration for your next costume. There's costume tutorials. There's props tutorials. How to work with Worbla. It seems to be a big thing for a lot of people who are like, I don't know what to do with this Worbla. Making boots, making hooves, making tails, making ears, working with wigs, makeup, prosthetics, all of that stuff. You can find fake armor out of cardboard. There's all sorts of tutorials you can find over there on our Pinterest board. Also, for those of you who are cosplayers, we have a website specially set up for you. It is cosplaydiaries.com, And over there, we have interviews with cosplayers, but we also have a form that you can fill out where you can tell us your story. You can tell us about your first time in a costume, first time at an event, first time playing a particular character, or going to the hospital to visit the kids, your first time at a charity event, first time at a parade, first time somebody pinched you and they shouldn't have. I mean, it can be a good story, it can be a bad story. Share with us your experiences as a cosplayer, and you can find that over at cosplaydiaries.com. Maya Aids is sitting here with me and not holding a microphone so nobody can hear you talk.
I wasn't sure if it was on.
Okay, well, we're always on all the time. Always assume the microphones are on.
Well, I was assuming, but I also didn't want to pick it up and have it off and then look like a...
Right now, if you've been watching, you've noticed that our lighting has changed a little bit. Brian Short with TV25 has come in and dropped in a couple of lights. Just want to give a shout out to them. TV25 is let's see,
awesome sauce.
Where's the card? Here it is. TV25.tv. If you are watching here, either on YouTube or Planet Comic Con's YouTube or our Facebook page, or on Channel 25, live over the air here in the Kansas City market, or online at TV25.tv. So we've got several different streams feeding out, and it's all through the magic box from TV25, and we want to give them a shout out and offer our thanks and appreciation for their help. Brian just got back from the National Association of Broadcasters convention in Las Vegas, where he probably lost a lot of money at the roulette wheel. No, I'm kidding.
No, maybe
not. They did bring in an award from the Low Power Television Group. The Advanced Television Broadcasting Alliance gave TV25 an award for the best promotional television campaign for their Drive-In Movie Maniacs promo. So we want to extend our congratulations to them. And thank you, Brian, and the gang over at TV25 for the signal boost. And here's what we're going to do. We are going to take a real quick break. We will be back straight up 1 o'clock p.m. Central Time, U.S., which is now, by my watch, in 34 minutes. So when we come back, we'll have we're going to try to check in with Carlos Pedraza. We'll have the Sci-Fi for Chicks. There will be a Star Wars block a little bit later on with McKenna Riley and Matt Henches. And in the meantime, while we're kind of dark, you can go check out our other videos here at Sci-Fi For Me TV. All of the interviews from Worldcon are there. Salacious Crumbs, the latest episodes are there. Star Wars Cribs are there. So you can check that out while we go take a break and
we
grab
also
some
have
food.
Been taking a whole lot of pictures with the Sci-Fi Monkey this morning.
Yes, lots of pictures with the Sci-Fi Monkey. For those of you who saw, if you're watching our Facebook page, was it last week? Week before last. When was Celebration? Star Wars Celebration was 2 weeks ago.
Yes, yeah.
2 weeks ago. Debbie Bell, who is our Orlando correspondent, she was in Orlando. She was at Star Wars Celebration, and she has a Think Geek monkey. Think Geek's mascot is Timmy the Monkey, and she customized her Timmy the Monkey and put the Sci-Fi For Me logo on there, and took some pictures out at Star Wars Celebration. And so one of our staff, Jennifer Wise, is now cosplaying as Timmy the Monkey in a Sci-Fi For Me shirt. It's very cute, and we've got lots of pictures that we're going to post. Be checking our Instagram for lots more pictures. We're going to be posting cosplayers
on Instagram
there,
and Facebook.
And on Facebook and on Twitter. So you can connect with us there. We're going to take a break. We will be back in 32 minutes as our live coverage of Planet Comic Con continues here on Sci-Fi For Me TV.